We've become very used to talking about issues around race and identity with a particular political slant, which perhaps has contributed to the problem that Alka quite rightly alluded to, in that institutions and politicians and various aspects of child protection have all been inured to this particular way to discuss things.
You may think it couldn't get any worse, but these revelations of institutionalized criminal negligence were soon followed by denials, accusations, and excuses. I find it quite disturbing that some individuals find talking about the background of the abusers more upsetting than the scandalous nature of the abuse itself, especially in the light of these horrifying and inhumane disclosures.
I became a bit more conscious because of this leaked Home Office report that people may have read about, in which the Blob claimed that right-wing extremists frequently exploit the grooming gangs issue to promote anti-Muslim sentiment. They also referred to this issue as an alleged group-based sexual abuse, which is totally absurd because we know it's happened and is still happening across the country. People are very afraid to point to the ethnicity or faith of the perpetrators. I saw some footage from Oldham Council, where a Conservative councillor recently kind of used the language which made reference specifically to Pakistani heritage perpetrators. And she was reprimanded in the council chamber and had to give a half apology for saying that. The cowardice that we talk about goes right to the top. So if you cast your mind back to when people were calling for a national new inquiry into grooming gangs, Keir Starmer referred to those people as jumping on the far right bandwagon. Yes, there are bad actors involved in this, and there definitely are elements of the far right who are jumping on the bandwagon and smearing all members of the Pakistani community, which is wrong, and we must condemn that. But ordinary people are equally really concerned about what's going on. One of the examples of Islamophobia makes reference to grooming gangs and says that it's a subtle form of anti-Muslim hatred. Now, that's problematic because it shuts down debates. And now my research for Civitas showed that there were a significant number of councils, 1 in 7 across England, that had adopted this definition. And some of those councils included areas in which grooming gangs have operated. Even if councillors like this Conservative one that was shut down in Oldham not that long ago, even if they're willing to raise this issue, they are still fearful because the council in some places has adopted this definition, which defines even raising this issue as a form of racism.
I think specifically 2 key components that I want to draw attention to in Western rules that I think a lot of people in Western societies don't realize are fairly unique to what I describe as post-Enlightenment societies like ours and most of the rest of Europe. Firstly is this framework of individual rights in which a transgression of sexual laws or conventions infringing on the rights of another individual is considered wrongdoing in itself, rather than for the dishonoring that it does to that individual's family or the broader community. And secondly, that as a result of that framework of individualism and the rights of the individual, we apply our rules and our social mores and our customs universally. And they don't only apply to members of our own society and our own in-group. So the way that a Western approach would be to say that what is wrong to do to someone in our own society would be equally wrong to do or with somebody from any other society. And I believe that the closest thing that we've got to a simple explanation of why the grooming rape scandal happened and why the authorities and the media and society failed to stop it is because those 2 things, that conception of individual rights not to be violated, not to be that conception of individual rights, and the idea of a universal application of these rules across societal boundaries and cultural boundaries, actually they don't. Those two concepts don't hold across all cultures. But currently, our society, and I think a lot of the way that our law enforcement agencies and our media have approached it, is to assume that those things do hold across all cultural boundaries.